We're live. um, Hello, everybody. My name is Gypsy. And we're here with the Ordinance Work Group, which was formerly called the Judicial Committee. And we're going to be going over the medical cannabis regulations. And so this is the public input. We hope to get everyone's input and comments. If you have any questions, we may not be able to answer them, but we can take the questions down and find the answers and check with legal later on. So we're going to start with Stacy. She's going to read the general provisions. And we have a phone number. Tom put it on the thing there. If you have any questions or if you want to ask a question, you can call that number and then I'll answer it. And that's all. Go ahead. Get that down there.
I'm Stacy Dahlstrom with Big Cooley. I'm going to read Chapter 1, General Provisions. It's starting at 1.1, the title. These regulations shall be cited as the medical cannabis regulations of the system Wapatino-Oate of the Lake Traverse Reservation, Oate. 1.2, Purpose and Policy. The purpose of these regulations are to A, civilly regulate those persons and lands within the reservation to protect and promote the health, safety, and welfare of individuals and entities on the reservation with respect to medicinal cannabis. B, ensure that seriously ill people on the reservation have the right to obtain and use medicinal cannabis for medical purposes. I is where that medical use is deemed appropriate and has been recommended by a practitioner in a bona fide practitioner-patient relationship where the practitioner has determined that the patient's health would benefit from use of medicinal cannabis in the treatment of a serious medical condition, or 2, where the seriously ill person is a medical cannabis card holder, which card has been issued by a state or tribal authority, or 3, where the seriously ill person holds a medical cannabis card issued by a website in accordance with the terms in this code. C, establish protocols for the cultivation and cultivation/manufacture, growing, packaging, distribution, advertisement, and rules governing the locations and operations of retail medicinal cannabis outlets on the reservation to meet the needs of tribe members and/or qualified patients and designated caregivers on the reservation. 1.3, Authority. These medical cannabis regulations are enacted under the inherent sovereign authority of the Sisseton Wahpeton-Oate as the governing body of the Sisseton Wahpeton-Oate and pursuant to Article 7, 1, C, D, and H of the revised Constitution and bylaws of the Sisseton Wahpeton-Oate. 1.4, Territorial Act Applicability. This ordinance applies to the following property and all interest in such property. A, reservation or trust lands. B, all buildings and other improvements of a permanent nature now or hereafter located on reservation and trust lands. 1.5, Non-Waiver of Immunity. Nothing in these regulations shall be construed to constitute a waiver of the sovereign immunity of the Sisseton Wahpeton-Oate or any of its officers, employees, or agents administering or enforcing these regulations except as provided for by a duly authorized resolution, nor shall this regulation subject the Oate to liability for damages or other relief resulting from enforcement of this regulations, reliance upon it, or conformance to it, except as provided for by a duly authorized resolution. 1.6, Inclusion of language from other laws. Inclusion of language, definitions, procedures, or other statutory or administrative provisions of other state and federal law shall not be deemed an adoption of that law by the Oate, nor shall it be deemed an action deferring to state or federal jurisdiction where such state or federal jurisdiction is concurrent or does not otherwise exist. 1.7 Interpretation. The provisions of these regulations shall be interpreted and applied as minimum requirements applicable to medical cannabis and shall be liberally construed in favor of the Awate. 1.8 Severability. The provisions of these regulations are severable if any chapter, section, paragraph, part, or provision shall be held unconstitutional. The remaining provisions shall not be affected or impaired. That is the end of chapter 1.
Did that even make sense to anybody? Do you guys want us to read over the definitions of the different terms in there? Go ahead.
I brought some written comments.
Okay.
So, I got several copies, if I could just give them to you.
Yes,
and
please.
I could just distribute them so everybody has a copy. I represent the tax office, the tribal tax office, I'm the tribal director, Brenda Ballinger, and I'm also an attorney, and, did tax compliance or tax law is my main concern, and so what I did is when the code came out, it had no provisions really for incorporating our tax code, our business license ordinance. So, I had them include that language in the medical marijuana, tax code language. So that's in the code, but I don't see that language in these regulations.
Which part of the regulations would you want that added into, Brenda?
Well, I was thinking about that section that she read, the numerous laws, the state federal laws, that section. Maybe we could add another section, before the interpretation section, including inclusion of tribal laws, something, let that as a heading, and then just stick in that language. That's in my memo. Which basically it just says that, there's a requirement to comply with chapter 67, the tax code, and chapter 53, the business license code.
So, you want us to read that?
For people that are interested.
Oh, you mean this? I thought you were gonna start.
These are what she wants to add, what she would like to see added to it. If anybody else is wondering.
Hello, my name is Jan Redwing. I'm Tokonoa rep. And we are reading the taxation provisions of medical cannabis regulations. And A, insert the same language in the regulations that is contained in the medical cannabis code. All persons, whether individual entities, facilities, financial sources, licensed facilities, or tribal members included in any for-profit business entity conducting a retail business as set forth in this code with the purpose of selling medical cannabis to a qualifying patient or other person shall comply with the requirements of Chapter 53 SWO Business License or Ordinance, Chapter 67 SWO Tax Code, and any other law now or in the future made applicable to medical cannabis. Okay, so this one doesn't really need to. The retailers must contact the SWO tax office at 605-698-3541 for the tax remittance forms required to be submitted on a monthly basis. Would y'all like the definitions read? Or is that just too much? Lord. Good moral character means.
So, chapter 2 is about the definitions, and so there's some words in there, I guess maybe because we don't all know what they mean. I don't. And you guys that are here, you got a copy of it and you read it. Do you think we should read this out loud, read these definitions for everybody listening? Or wait for them to get a copy? There's a lot. And, there's, anyway, just read it, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what, this won't make sense to some of us who aren't in the business. But those who are in the business, you said you're gonna have a dispensary, do you think we should? Okay, what's that, Rob? Yeah, chapter 2, start with the definitions.
Okay,
Definitions in this regulation, so we'll go through them.
okay. Advertising means the act of providing consideration for the publication, dissemination, solicitation, or they've got some big words in here, or circulation, visual, oral, or written to include directly or indirectly the purchase of medical cannabis. Alarm installation company means a person engaged in the business of selling, providing, maintaining, servicing, repairing, altering, replacing, moving, or installing a security system in the facility. Applicant means a person that has applied pursuant to these regulations for a license that was accepted by the Medical Cannabis Commission for review but has not been approved or denied. Batch number means a distinct group of numbers, letters, or symbols, or any combination thereof assigned by a facility to a specific harvest batch of medical cannabis. Cannabis or marijuana means all parts of the plant of the genus cannabis, whether growing or not, the seeds thereof, the resin extracted from any part of the plant, and every compound, manufactured salt, derivative, mixture, or preparation of the plant, its seeds or its resins, including cannabis concentrate. Cannabis plant monitoring system means the required seed to sale tracking system that includes but is not limited to testing and data collection established and maintained by a facility and available to the Medical Cannabis Commission for the purpose of tracking each cannabis plant and for monitoring cannabis plant development from seed or propagation to sale, to sale. Supposed to be sale, I think, or destruction. Cannabis products or marijuana products means any concentrated cannabis, cannabis extract, and products that are infused with cannabis or an extract thereof and are extended for use of consumption by humans. The term includes edible cannabis products, beverages, topical products, ointments, oils, and tinctures. Okay, H, cannabis testing facility or testing facility means an off-site independent entity registered with the Commission pursuant to the Medical Cannabis Code to analyze the safety and potency of cannabis. I, commission means the Medical Cannabis Commission that was established as a government agency of the tribe and delegated with the regulations of medical cannabis that is established to perform regulatory oversight and monitor compliance with the Medical Cannabis Code and applicable regulations. J, conviction means a plea or verdict of guilty or a conviction following a plea of nolo contender. Cultivation means any activity including the planting, growing, harvesting, drying, curing, grading, and trimming of cannabis. Dispensary means a place on the reservation where medical cannabis and medical cannabis products are offered, either individually or in any combination for retail sale, including an establishment that delivers medical cannabis and medical cannabis products as part of the retail sale. Facility means a greenhouse, building, or other enclosed area used and controlled by a licensed medical cannabis producer to produce, possess and process, packaging, store or sell cannabis or cannabis products, and or in which the business records, receipts, or other funds of the operation are maintained, including the off-site facilities dedicated to storage of these records and financial institutions.
Flowering, now flowering means the reproductive state of cannabis in which the plant is in a light cycle intended to stimulate production of flowers, trichomes, and cannabinoids characteristic of cannabis. Good cause for purposes of denial of an initial license, license renewal, or license restatement application or certification, or for purposes of discipline of a license or certification holder means the licensee or applicant has violated, does not meet, or has failed to comply with any of the terms, conditions, or provisions of the Medical Cannabis Code, any rules promulgated pursuant to it, or any relevant applicable law, rule, or regulation. Good cause number 2, the licensee or applicant has failed to comply with any special terms or conditions that were placed upon the license pursuant to an order of the commission, or 3, the licensee's or applicant's facility has been constructed, maintained, or operated in a manner that inadequately protects the environment or the health and safety of the public. Good moral character means having a personal history that demonstrates honesty, fairness, and respect for the rights of others and for the law. Harvest batch means a specifically identified quantity of processed medical cannabis that is uniform in strain, cultivated utilizing the same pesticides and other agricultural products, and harvested at the same time. Licensee means any person holding a license issued by the Medical Cannabis Commission under the Medical Cannabis Code or any other applicable regulation. Limited access area means a building, room, or other contiguous area of a licensed facility where medical cannabis is produced under the control of a licensed medical marijuana producer. Minor means a person under the age of 18.